Hello everyone and welcome to Camping with Lenny. Today we'll be reviewing Rock Point Provincial Park. Rock Point Provincial Park is located in Dunnville, Ontario, Canada. It's roughly about 105 kilometers away from me, south. Roughly about 130 kilometers south of Toronto, depending on traffic. It will take you about 2 hours from Toronto. From my place, about an hour and a half, again, depending on traffic. The traffic getting there is an up and down. So if, for example, if you're coming from Toronto, when you go south, you are hitting all major highway. That's considered a bottleneck in the southern Ontario area. And you do need to take side streets to get into the park, or in other words, to get to Dunnville, Ontario. Dunnville, Ontario is actually a pretty nice little town, has everything you need just in case you forget your some equipment, but everything is there for you. The park is just outside the town itself. It's a very beautiful park. The park itself is it's sort of a small peninsula going into to Lake Erie itself. So it's very, very nice. It's very homey. It's very well maintained. It's super, super clean. So the site that I got is site number 59. So if you look at the map, if you get a chance to go to the website itself, if you look at the map, the site 59 is actually pretty interesting. It is just behind the site itself. It's a pathway. That pathway goes into the beach itself. But if you keep going south past the pathway, you actually see the lake. I'm literally waterfront, but a little bit of away from the waterfront. So during the night, you can actually hear the site. You can actually hear Lake Erie. So it's very, very nice. It's very nice and calming. It's very beautiful. Definitely recommend that site itself. But here's the thing though, the campsite itself is it's, in my opinion, it's considered heavily used area. The reason why is the campsite itself is actually beside the walking path. The walking path actually goes straight to the beach area itself. So during the summer, that place can get very, very packed. So you actually start hearing people walking around your tent, but you don't see them though, but you do hear them. That's what happened to me my first day there, because I can actually hear people walking back and forth going to the beach itself. So it's a little downfall, but during the night you can actually hear the waves. So it's very nice to sleep at night. So just keep that in mind. Site 59. Again, it's you can hear the lake. You can hear the path. You can hear people walking to the path. So that's the only thing. Let's talk about the amenities here. The amenities has washrooms and showers. The washrooms are very, very clean. Are considered a stall setup. So, for example, if you go to the bathroom itself in the washroom, the doors are actually going into a stall base instead of like one big room for the washrooms. So the toilet and the sinks are in the same room. Entrances are located outside the building, so there's nothing really inside. There's no like typical bathroom setup. The showers are the same thing too. The showers are stall based. Entrance from the outside, like your typical Ontario Provincial Park setup. And they're very, very clean. Very, very clean. Like, I can't emphasize this enough. They're very, very clean. The showers are again just outside. Depending on what side you end up going to the park itself, you are going to be limited to several showers and several bathrooms. Again, compared to other setup, some setups are more stalls within the room itself, but the stalls are actually to be entered from the outside. So you are going to have very limited access to those. The washroom itself, how they set up the park itself is like you get your centralized location where your washroom and bathrooms are, and after that the site itself actually goes around it. It's almost like a wheel spoke. That's how they set it up. So it's very, very interesting how they set it up. There are some sites as well that only has the washroom portion of it, with no shower. There's no shower amenities. Those are considered comfort bathrooms. They're not an outhouse style compared to other parks, but they're actually full running bathrooms with sink outside and inside. So if you just need to wash your hands, you don't need to take over the washroom bit itself. You can just wash your hands from the outside. So that was pretty neat. Again, the showers course itself is somewhat accessible. The reason why I'm saying somewhat is the pathway itself is gravel. So if you are in a wheelchair, it'll be harder for you. But some of the washrooms I've seen are accessible, so they're big enough that you can bring in a wheelchair and shower there. There's no lip, there's nothing, so it's very very well thought of. Okay, and I want to talk about the potable water. The potable waters are very very accessible, actually, very very easy to get into. They're spread enough that I think every 5 to 6 campsite has access to one. Some of the some of the potable water is actually in the pathway itself. So, for example, if you one of the lucky ones actually has a campsite that's beside a path, between sites at the path itself actually has a water station. So that's kind of new. I haven't seen that before, but some of them are actually your traditional at the street side itself, like where the streets are. The faucet itself is raised up from the ground, roughly about 3 feet, 92 centimeters off the ground itself. So it's very easy to use. The other one as well too is the water itself, where the water gets collected. The bottom of the faucet itself, it is gravel, so just keep that in mind. If you are planning to, in other words, it can get very very wet. It's very very wet, and also it can be an issue with mosquitoes as well too, so just keep that in mind. The other one as well I want to tell you about for amenities wise are kids area. There's actually kids park. There's actually an open area in some locations actually has parks and has like playground amenities like slide swings and all that stuff. There's also an open area if you want to play catch, so you don't have to bother your neighbor itself. So it's pretty interesting. Okay, I do want to go back to the campsite itself. The campsite itself varies. It varies depending on the site itself. So the site that I got, site 59, it was very private. The bushes, I think I'm gonna call it bushes and trees and the canopies are does provide proper privacy throughout your stay. The only problem is if you are planning to have more sunlight, you have to be very picky about it, because there is one extreme to the other. With some sites are very open, as in like you can just know 3 canopies above you, so it's just open. You have to provide your own shade, and some campsite has a lot of shade. So number 59 has a lot of shade, not enough open air. So during the day when the sun is up, I did not see the sun. I was in shadow the whole time, so just keep that in mind. I do want to go through the pros and cons that I have on my review in this one. Pros: it is a very beautiful park. It is very very beautiful park. Beautiful enough that I definitely recommend going back there for my next camping trip. So that's how nice it is. Very well maintained streets, the bathrooms, the even the recycling and the garbage area. It's there. I do want to point out something here. With that said, regarding washroom and recycling, they're actually located in the washroom areas. So if you do go to the bathrooms and the washrooms, you can actually bring your garbage and recycling at the same time, just toss it there, so you don't have to drive. So that was very very nice of them. I think they did it that way because you don't want to keep driving your garbage to the garbage area. The park itself is very big, so just keep that in mind. So for them to non-centralize it, that's actually very nice. The next one I want to talk about is the great layout. The great layout of the park itself. It is, like I mentioned before, it is almost like a bike wheel, spoke wheel side style setup. So you have your centralized location, everything spokes from there, everything like spreads out from there, and everything is walking distance. Because during the day, I did walk around the park because I went there during the week, so no one's actually there. So I did walk around, And I noticed that every spot that I go to, I can be in the bathroom in less than 2 minutes. That's how convenient this is. And if you are planning to bring a big family or that needs to use the facilities a lot, this is a great place to go to. It's just easy to get into and get into the amenities itself. The other one I want to talk to you again. I do want to again mention, like I mentioned before, the tree canopies. It does provide natural shading, but it does provide, when I say natural shading, it's shaded, like incredibly shaded. You can have one side that's complete darkness from the shade from the sun, and if you go across to another side, it's just pure open. So there's no in between. I think that's the best way to describe it. There's no in between from extremely shaded to extreme openness. Even when I mention openness, it means everything is open. Like you can see your neighbors around you, right? But if you just want complete shade, then you're gonna have good privacy, right? So just keep that in mind. So it's if you are planning to walk around, you do need to look at it properly. Look at the photos if you're planning to book a site there. Make sure you have enough time to do your research if you're going to this park. So that's the only thing that I definitely want you guys to do before you guys go to this park is look at the site itself. Okay, now the cons. This is what I got when I was there for 3 days, 2 nights. And if you listen to the last episode of just camping adventure side, I've been talking about water, just water puddling around the campsite itself. So what I did is, like I mentioned, I did walk around the park itself to find out if it's only my site that's having an issue of puddling water during the rain. It looks like it's an overall issue throughout the park. Because the park itself is level. Well, I don't want to say level, but the street itself is level. But if you go into the site itself, it does dip down from the driving portion of the driveway itself. I think it's the path of the cars. The road, that's it. So if you are going into your park, to your site, you do go down about a couple of inches. So some entrance of the site itself is puddling water after a rain, because it was raining there when I got there, and the rain, it never dried. It never dried. There's issues regarding water. Water collection, right? It's not draining properly. So my site itself has issues with when you get into the site, it's mud, like just water, and even the fire pit that I have, it was so wet, it was literally floating. It's literally water. I did start a fire to see if I can dry up the area. It just did not dry. Like the whole time, it was like raining on my first day, second and third day, sun. It was hot, and the ground itself, it did not dry up. So it was very disappointing that the draining portion or the draining capability of the site was it's disappointing. Again, like I mentioned before, some sites had the same issue as well too. So just keep that in mind going in there. I just looked at one section of the park. There are other sections out there based on what I've seen has the same, not as severe issues that I had, but it was pretty bad. So just keep that in mind. The next cons I have is there's no direct route from major highways to get into the park. So if you are planning to drive there, if you're coming from Toronto, if you're coming from like anywhere outside the GTA, going to the park, if you are planning to go during rush hour, give yourself extra time. Like I mentioned before, coming from downtown Toronto is 130 kilometers. That's 2.5 hours south, depending on your traffic, right? As soon as you get off the major highway, you are in rural streets. There's no stops. There's nothing. It's just literally just rural streets going to Dunnville. So just keep that in mind when you're planning to head out there. It can be very boring ride, especially if you have little kiddies with you. Make sure they're entertaining. Go to the bathroom before you head in. That's all I can say. Because when you get there, it's easy to get a bathroom, but between the park and some of the major highways that has rest stops or fast food place like Tim Hortons, so you can stop and do a bio break. After you leave those, you'll be driving for a while until you see something. So now I just want to again talk about the overall experience I have in this park. My overall experience in this park is actually very, very good, despite the water pooling and all that stuff. It is what it is. It's camping. Just be aware of that. Overall, I'm very, very happy with the park. I am putting this back in my list to go for next year. It is a very nice park. It is a ways away from the city, but that's what you like going camping. Be away from the city itself because you just want to give that little bit of a distance, right? So it's a very good place to go. Lots of places, lots of things to do when you get there, including there's a playground, there's an open field if you want to play a little bit of baseball or a little catch or whatever. You can play it there too. The site itself can go from a very big site that you can bring an RV in all the way to something small as well. The site itself, the park itself can accommodate RVs, trailers, and tents. There are power sites as well too, so that's great. Again, you just have to choose the right ones. The ground itself, I forgot to mention this earlier. The ground itself is kind of clayish mud, dirt. They're not compact compared to other parks. Some of the parks are like it's still dirt and mud, but they're compact enough. There's no it just holds, right? This one is when it gets wet, it gets really mushy. So just keep that in mind when you get there. Always, I suggest you bring yourself a footprint for your tent if you're going to use this, because the ground does get cold fast. Doesn't matter where you are. I think it's just the proximity to Lake Erie just to make it cold. So that's one thing. The other one as well too, there is a Provincial store, like a park store. You can get wood there as well too. So when you go into the park, I think everything is drive through for now during off season. But when you need wood, the wood itself, you have to go to the park store to grab it there before you go to your site. I suggest you get your wood first before you go to the site, because the park entrance and the park store is, for example, if the park store you turn right to your park store, but if you want to go to your site, you turn left. It is a very good distance. It's not walkable. You can drive there, but I suggest if you have room in your car before you go to your site, grab your wood first, because that's the only way you can maximize your time on site if you don't want to drive back and forth for wood. So the other thing that I do want to mention as well too is the beach. Oh, sorry, not the beach. The beach has no issue. The one I would definitely want to mention to you is cell signal. That especially data. When I was there, I was getting very spotty data. There's one point I didn't get a single data. I got cell phone signal, but no data. So if you do rely on, if you're planning to work in the park, and you need data, be warned that you may or may not get it. For me to get data, I have to walk to the beach to get a proper sight line to Dunnville. Then I'll start getting data signal, and I'll start getting emails again and all that stuff. But if you are planning to rely on having data on your site, especially if you're planning to do like a week-long to 2-week-long work remote experience, you may or may not get it there because you're just too far away from the major area to get a proper signal. Because where the park, and again, like I mentioned, because the park itself is sort of in a peninsula, it's hard for you. It's hard. They're not going to put a cell tower in the middle of the park to get you something. It's literally just outside the park. So just keep that in mind. Data, it's a little sketchy. Cell phone, like voice, is fine. So keep that in mind. But yeah, final thoughts. I really like this park. I'm definitely gonna go back there again. So yeah, that's my final thoughts. Thanks for listening. If you like what you're hearing, consider supporting this podcast by buying me a cup of coffee. Link in the description. You can also visit campingwithlenny.com. There you can find other episodes and links that can help you on your next camping adventures. Thanks again.